Mr. J, first name A, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Paul. Brian Paul.
Dude, I love the YouTube. The second we go live, there's a big blue window that pops up and it says, now would be a good time to insert some ads. Click this button to insert ads. I'm like, we literally just started YouTube, and they're like, you should put in some ads right now. I'm like, no, I don't.
Get out my face, YouTube.
Dude, YouTube is all
what
about.
What else do you want? You already take enough from us, damn it.
Seriously, they're like, make more so we can take more. Okay, whatever. Yeah, that was fun. Let's start the show.
Yeah, let's go.
This is PSVR GameScast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on PSVR without Parole, 6 p.m. Eastern. That's what we're doing. We're doing it live right here for you. If you don't like to watch this thing live, then don't worry. You can always watch it later. Pre-recorded, as they say. VOD with some sci-fi Gamecat Henry timestamps inserted for your convenience. Or if you like watching with your ears, then you can always go over to podcast services of your choice and listen to this thing pretty much wherever you want. Thanks to our good friend Jay Meow, who uploads this podcast to podcast services of your choice. My name is Brian Paul from the channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And the gentleman to my right is AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
You're such a teacher's pet, Jay Meow. What is up, guys? What is up, Brian? How are you, man?
Good, man. I'm good. Jay's a teacher's pet because he helps the channel out. Yeah. This is why you don't have friends.
He's such a bandwagoner.
It's also not true. I'm the one without friends.
Next he'll be doing everything for Virtual Strangers. Just you wait. Just give it time. He'll be like Virtual Strangers, best channel ever, and doing their website and everything.
Agreed. Agreed.
Not that I disagree.
Eventually, I will give up on Without Parole and just go work for the Virtual Strangers. I feel like that is the natural progression of the way things have been going.
Could be worse.
How's everything sound to you guys? Anybody in the chat? Everything sound okay? The sound levels. I'm literally looking at the sound levels and they look fine, and then I always find out later. It's like, oh no, somebody was way louder. Yeah. Anyway. Guys, just a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure, if you don't already subscribe to AJ over at PSVR Underground, make sure you click the link in the description below and join his channel over there. I'm sure one of these days he'll do something.
I've been back for like 2 weeks, man.
Oh shit! Maybe I'm not subscribed.
Maybe you should follow your own advice.
Yeah, I know, right? So
do as he says, not as he does.
Seriously, Brian, get out of bed. God damn.
You do text me a lot at like 3 o'clock, and you're like, "Ah, shit! I just woke up. What's the show we're doing today?" And I'm like, "Fine, Brian, I'll take care of it again this time."
yeah. That's how things work for sure. Looper, the Underground Gamecat with the €2 says, your thoughts on the RE9 leak? Did you hear about this? The Resident Evil 9 leak?
I heard about it. I haven't looked at it at all because I'm still waiting to play like Village. So like, I really don't. I mean, yeah, I care about Resident Evil 9, but not very much until I play Village first because I've been holding off for VR.
For sure, I'm always curious about where the next next game's going to be. I don't think there's going to be because we held off playing Village, of course, because we're waiting for the VR version, but it's been out for a while, obviously on the flat screen. So I don't think there's going to be that much of a wait for us between Resident Evil 8 and Resident Evil 9. So I guess I am a little bit curious.
No complaints here.
Oh, so this is good. This is good. The leaked information originates from 4chan, so we're off to a good start. So fans should take the information with a massive grain of salt. Even so, there have been legitimate gaming leaks from the site, and blah 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 blah. What is the Resident Evil 9 release date?
Again, when
off. Here it is.
People leak stuff, they usually like to take credit for it. They don't usually leak stuff anonymously most of the time, unless it's like out of spite or something, just to like ruin something. But something like that, Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh, I mean, we recently saw The Last of Us Part 1 leaks, and they definitely don't want to be credited for that. So according to the supposed leaks, Resident Evil 9 is going to be set in a ghost town in the West, with players be able to explore caves, rivers, and creepy forest areas. Players will have to contend with deformed Wendigo creatures that have been likened to mythological monsters. These monsters will be able to mimic human voices and transform into friendly-looking NPCs, mirroring the Skinwalker urban legends. There will also be a giant black dog enemy that players have to deal with, assuming the information is legitimate. I mean, this sounds, as far as I'm concerned, this sounds decent.
The last one, this sounds a lot like the Resident Evil Village, which was leaked by a well-known leaker. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit, where it's like, big witch lady chasing you and setting the things. I don't know. Last one had werewolves. Anything's possible. Why not go the Wendigo route?
Yeah, I mean,
it sounds like Blair Witch kind of though.
It does seem like Resident Evil is just turning into like monster movie of the week kind of thing.
Yeah.
which is fine as long as it's actually scary. What do you think you're doing?
This is true.
You are crazy. You only do this during Gamescast. I swear she just hates me not paying attention to her. All right, man. Well, with that out of the way, make sure you join our Discord. Back to housekeeping. Click the link in the description below. Join our Discord. Totally free to join. And if you want your name on that Patreon list down below, that's part of the $3 tier over on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. Also, that gives you access to voice chat on Discord. We've got some special videos going up for the $5 tiers every month, and I'm going to be doing my best, now that I'm not sick anymore, to be getting the $1 tier some special stuff too. So if you join us on Patreon at all, at patreon.com/withoutparolegames, we should be having bonuses for you. I've got a lot of plans in the works, and hopefully they all come to fruition this week. That's all I got. That's it.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
AJ, besides the people who support us, by subscribing to the channels and donating during the shows and supporting us on Patreon, there's a whole nother group of cats that we want to thank out there, isn't there? It's Monday. We should do this shit.
That is right. It is Monday, Brian, and we would like to thank those who support us in another way by changing your name to something Gamecat, something Gamecat related, or something Gamecat adjacent, as something Gamecat adjacent like to say. And this week, we have 4 new Gamecats to welcome to the Gamecat Dojo. Starting with serial killer, the happy Gamecat dad. Aww.
Bing. There he is. He's cat dad or actual dad, you think? Game cat dad?
I'm guessing real life dad. Or maybe the father to a game cat.
There's too many ways we could take this, and I think we're going to go too deep if we think about it too long.
We've also got GB, the first colossal chromatic gaming squid cat. We've got squid cats now, Brian.
I mean, I think that's the natural evolution of the game cat, right? They become squid cats. I see that being a very advantageous.
We've also got the hippie hashtag game cat.
Bing. I love it.
Yeah, dude.
I love it. I feel like that's.
You play VR, bro.
I feel like that's secretly Michelle Varicchione, just hiding in the shadows. Being like
the one and only. Finally, last but not least, we've got Cringe Kev, the game cat with a K.
I mean, how else would you have it? Cringe Kev. Yeah, it's good. It's a lot of K's in there. I'm a little bit nervous counting up the K's. But
those K's make me cringe.
But just like 311, I'm sure it's a coincidence. Do you remember that?
Not even gonna ask.
Do you remember when people were like 311? It's like it means KKK because K is the 11th letter of the alphabet, and there's like 3 of them, and it's like
that is awful.
I mean, we're just going to assume that Kevin is not a member of said society.
Probably a safe bet.
We hope for the best, guys. If you love us almost as much as we love you, and you want to change your name to GameCat to support the channel, because that's the loyal following of Without Parole, make sure you put hashtag GameCat somewhere in the comments below after you change your name, and we'll give you a shout out on next Monday's show, just like we gave those 4 people a shout out. just now. That's how shit works. Yep. All right, man. Listen, so we we figured we had a lot to talk about today with like literally pretty much one topic, and that's some predictions, man. We are getting closer and closer to the PlayStation VR2 launch. Even though they still haven't announced the release date, they said in that last PlayStation blog that they are going to be talking about more games coming to the console and the release date soon.
PSVR 2, the lead up to launch, Brian, for PSVR 2 is in full swing. So now is the time where we get to have fun and get to start predicting things and guessing, and we get to see how right we are, which I'm guessing is going to be 100% accurate. And even some of these guesses might even be the reason that these things come to fruition. Or we're just going to be horribly wrong. The truth is, we're going to get to see how awfully wrong we are. And it's going to be fun to poke at ourselves. Like, we can't believe we thought this would happen.
Yeah, which is pretty much exactly what I've been doing for the last 6 years, right? Ever since PlayStation VR 1 came out, I was like, oh, we're obviously getting this. Oh, we're definitely getting that. Every game is going to be PSVR. And I was wrong for 6 years straight. And I can't wait to be wrong for another 6 years. Hopefully less wrong. Hopefully more of my dreams will come true during the PSVR 2 era. But we shall see what happens. But yeah, this is the time to make some predictions, though, because we're running out of time. Eventually, Sony will tell us when PSVR 2 is getting here. Eventually, we'll know the full lineup of launch games. We're going to know all of this stuff like really soon. So like this is really one of our last chances to really have one of these episodes where we get to predict a lot of stuff and then start placing some serious pizza bets that'll never be redeemed. Ever.
So exciting.
No,
they won't.
That's right. So let's start off with the basics, man. Let's start off with the basics. And we want to hear from you guys in the chat as well, what your opinions are of these things. Let's start with...
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, aren't we going to start with that, going by the run of show?
Brian, stop what you're saying. Continue what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the price. I think the price is the best place to start. To me, this is easy. I say it's a $400 price point. If they go higher than that, they're in trouble. If they go lower than that, they'll be taking too big of a loss.
Okay, I'm going to write this down myself. So even if I don't win a pizza from you, I could be like, haha, I was right. However, unfortunately, this is not one of them, because I also agree that, there was a lot of people telling me that, MetaQuest has gone up $100. Now PSVR 2 is going to be $600. I don't know if they're just crazy or just joking around. Hopefully just joking around. It did make me question that. I wonder if this does mean that it could end up being $500. I'm preparing myself for $499. However, I still think it's going to be $399. I'm with you on $400.
Yeah, I think the Quest thing is very telling of that Facebook has a failed strategy going on over there. I think that's what it's telling us more than anything else. When you try to do an all-in-one headset, the reason that everybody bought a Quest 2 was because it was so cheap, and so they ultimately never made their money back on software sales. Even 2 years in, right? 2 years in, they weren't doing well enough to keep the price where it was supposed to be, and so. This basically tells me more than anything else that the all-in-one model, the standalone headset model, isn't there yet. Like it's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable at a reasonable price. Where 2 years in they had to raise the price to something that I don't think is going to find its way under every Christmas tree this year, right?
So.
For $300, you put that thing under everybody's Christmas tree. You just get it. You're like, $300. That's like kind of like the cutoff. You give it to your kids, you give it to your friends, you give it to your girlfriend, you give it to your boyfriend, whatever. Right? $300. It finds its way under every Christmas tree. It finds its way into every birthday party. Done. $400. So suddenly, I see this backfiring big time on them. I don't think it's going to sell at all. And so you have all these components in a standalone headset, and it just gets too expensive too fast. The model doesn't work yet.
Yeah, and this is just speculation. There's no agenda when I say this, but this is just my first initial thoughts, was that, they said openly that when they sold the Quest for $300 originally was that they sold it at a loss because they basically were making up for it by selling people's data. And was kind of curious, thinking maybe because they've now removed the requirement that you use a Facebook account, that might lead to not being able to sell data more accurately or certain things. And that was a cause for it. I actually thought that really them saying that the price of manufacturing, blah, 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 is really just PR talk that any company would do if they were in a similar situation. But yeah, I actually think that that's what happened, but I could be wrong.
I will say, actually, you know what? Like, yeah, Paytrack F with the 9 plantains says in today's Digital F, I'm assuming that's Digital Foundry, they said $4.99 with controllers. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. But somebody out there on Twitter got it in their head that there's going to be 2 SKUs sold of the PSVR2, which is completely inaccurate. There'll be 1 SKU. Every headset will be sold with controllers. So we don't.
Bundle, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to say that. We know full well. Sony's fucking said it, right? Like, we're not even speculating. This is not inside source. This is Sony saying it. Every PSVR2 headset will be sold with a set of Sense controllers. They've said it. And so. And $500 is definitely on the expensive side. I do think it would still sell out at that price, because the early adopters will buy it. But there's too many people waiting for it not to sell out. But I do think that Sony wants to take this really, really seriously, and they have an advantage over Facebook. Like I think the attach rate is just going to be so much higher with PSVR 2. They also don't have to worry about having like any real any kind of CPU or GPU in the headset itself, right? It's going to save them a ton of money, and so
that's a big part of it. Some of it does kind of get replaced by, stuff like the adaptive triggers, the OLED screen.
Sure.
So it kind of balances out, I think.
But no battery, there's a lot of stuff that you don't have to worry about, as
more like the GPU, CPU stuff, yeah.
You don't have to worry about a cooling system, right? I mean, it's just a display at this point.
No, because it has a hole in the front of it, as you like to say. They drilled a hole in it and called it a day. That was the design there. That still makes me laugh for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if they're proud of it, then I'm happy. And I will say, the last time I put on my PSVR 1 headset, it did fog up, and I was like, man, I wish there was a fucking hole drilled in the top of this thing.
You're like, genius! I was wrong. It is a genius design.
Genius. I should drill a hole in everything I own.
I usually don't promote spam or spamming emojis, but I'm very impressed with Hector Robles' Space Invaders message in the chat. Anyways, sorry.
Looper the Underground Gamecat with the €5 says Meta's having a bad time selling data after Google, Apple, and Mozilla started blocking third-party cookies in their browsers. Interesting.
I really think that's the main cause of it. Because otherwise, wouldn't Xbox be raising the price $100? Wouldn't PlayStation be going up $100? Wouldn't Nintendo Switch be going up $100? Why is it just Facebook?
Because Facebook has more money than fucking God, right? And so they can make stupid business moves and not really have to pay the consequences the way that somebody like Sony doesn't have an infinite amount of money, right? And so they can just like throw this $300 price tag at the wall and say, we assume soon enough that component prices will come down. We assume that people will buy enough games for us to recoup our losses on these headsets, and they can make stupid business moves. But eventually, you can't do that forever, right? You can't just keep sinking money into a failing business, and which is essentially what I consider the Quest market to be right now. It's a failing business. They not that the Quest is bad. Quest is fine, but they're mismanaging it entirely, which is
I think they're more just. I think they just lack experience. They're learning, as they go, and that's the difference we've seen with Sony is they've got 25, 30 something years under their belt of experience, and so that's why when people say like, it's going to be $600, I'm like, no, it's not. They couldn't even sell PS3 for $600. Why would they try and sell a peripheral for $600. It sounds crazy.
Right. They learned their lesson a long time ago. When they say $599 people point and laugh, and that's the end of the story. Right. They'll
Unless
never
they just
sell.
don't care about it not selling. Like,
yeah, they'll never
I
sell
don't believe.
anything. They'll never sell anything again for $600 ever. It's like just nothing. Nothing with the PlayStation brand on it. Serial Killer, the happy Gamecat dad with the $5 tip says, "Happy birthday." This answers our question, AJ, to my son Nathan Drake, who is 10 years old today. Happy birthday, Nathan Drake.
Happy birthday, Nathan Drake. He's gonna grow up to have an adventurous life, that one.
Yeah. Be great.
Then he's gonna have Tom Holland play him in a movie later.
Wow. Man, I knew it's all about the name. I should have had a cooler name. Life could have been so much different. Happy birthday, Nathan Drake. Very cool. So
$400.
Nice and easy. Yeah, comes packed. Do you think? Let's go deep with this, man. Do you think that $400 price tag, which includes the headset and 2 Sense controllers, will there be any kind of game in that box?
No, I think it'd be $400. There could be a demo. There could be a pack-in title, like a free pack-in title, but that's about it. Maybe access to some demos from the PlayStation Store from developers that would like to do that, but nah. I think just maybe a tech demo or something like that at best.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, definitely, as far as I'm concerned, no pack-in game, right? Because in order for them to make this as cheap as possible, they need to, like, if they can sell Horizon Call of the Mountain for $60 and not put it in the box, right? And and help recoup some of the losses they might be taking on the hardware. If they're even, and we should say, they never sold PSVR 1 at a loss, ever. Since day one, they sold that at a profit, and so if they did do that this time around, it would be it would be going off brand for them. But again, they might be trying to take this like super seriously and trying to get as many headsets sold as possible. So they might take a loss on it. We'll see.
Yeah, my final answer: $400. I'm prepared for $499 though, just in case. I could see that happening, but I'm definitely, if I had to bet, I would bet on 400.
Yeah, I was really trying to stay on topic, but Looper the Underground Gamecat said if Brian changes his mind and ever has a kid, he should name him Les, which is fucking great. It's just it was one of those comments that I was like trying to move past, but then my head gets stuck on it, and it would be awesome if I had a kid named Les Paul. Dead Ringer the Gamecat with the $2 tip says, "Yep. Name changed. Let's go." Dead Ringer, the Gamecat, has an amazing ring to it. I will say, Dead Ringer, which one's pink, the Gamecat? Pretty fucking cool, too. So, you do you. But, yeah. Nihilus Ryan, the Game Feline, with the $5 tip says, "Happy Monday, cats. Watch Nope. It's fantastic."
It's Jordan Peele's new movie.
Yeah,
I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey over the weekend because I was like, I haven't seen that movie in so long. I didn't remember it. Still holds up, man. Still really good.
Nice.
There's a little bit of excessive classical music through certain scenes where it's just like 15 minutes of no dialogue and just classical music. Other than that, though, it's fine. Like it's still a brilliant movie.
Yeah, Kubrick's an acquired taste, I think. I think when I was in college, I liked really pretentious stuff because I was like, like Clerks and independent movies and foreign movies that are that are dubbed or subtitled or whatever. And Kubrick kind of fell right into that. I don't know. I've changed. I don't go for the pretentious stuff as much anymore. Kubrick, I mean, maybe not considered pretentious by most, but. Clockwork Orange, I think, holds up really well. Shin Miyazo with the £5 says, "They won't need to do a pack-in because most people who already own several PSVR2 compatible games, that's the seller right there. #hybrids." Make an excellent point. There's going to be some games in people's libraries that are already playable on PSVR2.
It's a waste. Yeah, it is a good point.
All
right,
man.
Shin.
Absolutely. Thank you for the tip. All right. So we don't need to spend as much time on this next part, but release date prediction. When is this thing coming out? We've been saying Q1 2023 since February of 2022. Are you
February 28th?
Wow. Okay.
No, actually, February 2nd, or no? Should I do March 3rd? So it's 3/3/20. I'm gonna say March 3rd. is coming out March 3rd,
You take your time.
2023. So it's going to be 03/03/2023. Total guess. It'll be close to that.
What I've been hearing is late February, early March, right? But I'm gonna go.
That matches with mine.
It does match with yours, and just to be different, I don't actually believe this is the case, but just to be different, I want to say March 24th, 2023. Now this is late March instead of early March, and if I was to actually start putting some money on this, I wouldn't be doing something crazy, right? But March 24th, 2023 is the release date of Resident Evil 4 Remake. So how crazy would it be if they just coincidentally launched the headset alongside Resident Evil 4 Remake? I think Village is an amazing game, or Village will be an amazing game, as somebody who hasn't played it. But I think Resident Evil 4 is one of those games where it's like so many people will say it's their favorite game of all time. And if you launch that alongside a PSVR 2 headset, I think that could generate some crazy fucking headset sales right there.
It was interesting that they started that showcase with that trailer, saying that date, and it was kind of weird, right? Like it seems like
it's more than kind of.
Like, it seemed like a very odd thing to do, to kick things off with that, and then I don't know. The Friday, March 3rd is a Friday, so I like the odds.
Yeah, I like your odds more than I like my odds, but I do.
We know it's Q1 2023. We know that for a fact, so we're in the ballpark.
Yeah, and also we've talked probably at length prior to this about Capcom cannibalizing their own sales, and for them to have two Resident Evil games at launch probably doesn't make sense, right? Because people might choose one over the other. If they even gave themselves like a month span of time where it's like, oh, here's one, and then a little while later we'll release the other one, they might actually generate more sales that way. But who knows? Who knows? Having two games at launch, who the fuck knows? That could be an amazing way to generate sales. But Paul Powell in the chat says RE4 is very high on my list of games that I give zero poops about. that comment took me on a little roller coaster ride because I was like, oh, he's so excited about not this, about other stuff, not this. Yeah, good. I like it. Okay, so we've got some. Oh wait, hold on. Looper the Gamecat has his own suggestion with the €2. Says how about 02, which is February 23. February 23rd, 2023.
I almost said, I think I got the original February 28th that's when they showed, or when they announced that PlayStation VR2 was actually happening for the first time. So I thought maybe they would do that. But the way they did a lot of, I don't know. They like to do weird things sometimes. They like to make it kind of memorable with the dates sometimes.
Cerebral Frost wants to extend this conversation even further. He says, question, what's your prediction for a pre-order date?
This holiday. 2022.
That doesn't really, that's not a date.
October 13th.
I'm going to say when here's my guess. They're going to do this big showcase next month. Next month being September. Pre-orders go live at the end of that showcase. I think they give us a bunch of PSVR 2 games. They show off a little bit more stuff. They show somebody actually wearing a headset. They go into the tech a little bit more. They get us excited about hybrid games, and then they say, and it's coming really, really soon. They give us a release date. Pre-orders are open now. So that's my guess. Whenever the showcase is next month, pre-orders open. I think they want to get a jump on the holiday sales.
Oh, so you do think there's a showcase next month, huh?
I think there's a Sony showcase next month.
I thought so too, actually. I thought when they said soon, obviously that puts it within a 2-month window for me personally, but I actually do think we'll get a showcase late next month maybe, unless it gets delayed.
They typically. The only reason I'm going with a September showcase is because they do one every year, right? If you look back, Sony does a September showcase every year, first or second week in the month, and so at this point, I'm like, oh man, it's like it's already been 2 months since State of Play, since they revealed Resident Evil 4 and Village and No Man's Sky and everything else. It's already been 2 months since then, right? What would be the point in shoehorning like some kind of some other State of Play or some special PSVR2 event in between now and their supposed annual showcase? It to me, it doesn't really make any sense. And plus, when you're going to have all eyes on you during the September showcase, why? Like, really, it's time to really shove PSVR2 down people's throats, right? It's really like,
yeah,
right.
I'm all about it.
It's like it's now time. Like, whether you care about VR or not, if you're a PlayStation fan, it's like they just need to fucking put this in front of your eyes and say, look what it can do. Look how amazing this thing is, and really start selling people on the possibility of more flat screen games. Coming, launching as hybrid games.
So did you give a date for that prediction?
I said whenever the September showcase is, which is typically first or second week.
September showcase. I'm writing all this down just for future reference.
Yeah,
just for fun, because I want to see if just to point it out later.
Ball Powell says, wasn't Miles saying it would be August? Dude, the thing is we've heard some crazy shit, right? All year long we've been hearing crazy shit, and at this point, we don't know who to trust for anything, right? There's been all sorts of rumors. There was supposed to be a PSVR2 showcase last December, right? I mean, like, shit has really been pushed back and back and back, and it seems like Sony is playing it super cool, right? And they have to, because you just... Dude, even today on Without Parole, I'm getting comments from people saying, what's the point of PSVR 2 if I can't get a PlayStation 5? And I totally empathize with anybody who can't get one. But at the same time, it's like...
You got to try a little.
We got to move forward, guys. We can't sit around... Like, what's the point of putting out games on PlayStation 5 if you can't get one? Like, you at a certain point, you have the 20 million people that do have one, you have to cater to those people. What's the point of doing anything anymore, right? Like, why even bother getting up and showering without
if it's just going to be
5?
dirty again? Yeah, right?
Hey,
Exactly.
that is my motto.
You are such a hypocrite.
Definitely. Darth Vader, the Gamecat with the $10 tip, says, love the speculation videos and GamesCast. Really hope that to see the PC port of Zero Caliber on PSVR 2. Jesus. I figured we gave up on that game. That game just looks so fun. Also, Stray. Oh, no, not Stray. Stay hydrated, not Stray hydrated. Screw this hot weather. Yeah, good call, man. I'm going to drink some more coffee and stay hydrated. I love it. Thank you very much, Gator. Appreciate it. Oh, is it time for some game predictions?
I think it is time, Brian, because Jim Ryan himself has confirmed that there are over 20 major launch titles. Maybe you just said 20 major launch titles, but we know that there's over 20 launch titles that are in the making. So we thought we'd have some fun while we still can and make some predictions about the games that we're going to see at launch.
And just to delay gratification even further, I say we ignore the 20 for a second, right? Because there's going to be more than 20 at launch. If there's 20, if we take Jim Ryan at his word and we say, okay, he said there's going to be 20 major PSVR games at launch, or PSVR 2 games. Great. To me, that to me that doesn't mean indie games. To me, that doesn't mean PSVR 1 remasters. And so let's get some PSVR 1 remasters out of the way before we even dive into these 20. Which there's a lot of PlayStation VR 1 games that just didn't get the attention they deserved at all because PlayStation VR died faster than it should have, right? And so the audience has moved on to other headsets or whatever the story was. Which PSVR 1 games deserve a remaster and why?
Well, I have actually a good slew of little list here of some remasters. I'm going to kick things off. You want to kick things off with something exciting, Brian? You want to be excited? I'm going to kick things off with The Persistence remastered by Firesprite Studios, because they are now officially a first-party studio. They've made... they're making Horizon Call the Mountain. They're a huge studio. I think this is the first one, and I think there's one reason that this game wasn't talked about constantly, wasn't, you know, the people that have played it love it. It is a fantastic game. It is on every single one of our top 25 lists and kind of near the top two. And the one thing that it could use to make it more a VR AF experience are the orbs.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get the Persistence remastered with the orbs. Boom. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and the fact that this thing has a PlayStation 5 version already, I feel like it doesn't. It didn't exactly need a PlayStation 5 version, right? You don't play the Persistence on PS4, the flat screen, and go, huh, this thing just doesn't move at a fast enough frame rate. Oh, there's just not enough detail here, right? It's not exactly the most visually striking game, right? It's not. It looks fine. It looks good. It does what it needs to do. But the fact that they made a PlayStation 5 version of this game with a new SKU tells me everything I need to know. That this 100%. They want to take advantage of the high resolution of the headset. They want to take advantage of the new Sense controllers. And dude, I as much as I love the Persistence, I will love the Persistence even more with two hands in the game. And
Yeah.
like, what
That's
was
the one thing it was missing, man. It's going to require them to go in and rebuild the game quite a bit, but I think they have everything in place to do that, to make that happen.
What was the ability you got when like you could like kind of grapple on to an enemy and then you had to use the headset to like slam them against walls and so you're doing this with your head instead of just like instead of doing something cool, being able to just move your controller around. I'm so glad they didn't use.
It was technically a gravity. It was technically a gravity gun, but I don't remember what they called it. They called it like, I don't remember the specific name for it.
I'm glad that's right. I'm glad they didn't use the light tracking. That's all I got to say. I'm glad they didn't use the DualShock 4 light tracking.
Oh God, yes.
Right.
DualShock is terrible for light tracking.
Yeah. And so, which also gives me for all the exact same reasons. I'm going to say Resident Evil 7, right? Because Resident Evil 7, I feel like. I don't know if it's going to be all at once or over time or what the deal will be, but I do feel as though Resident Evil series is perfect for VR support. And we even saw Resident Evil 2 get some mods over on PC, giving it first-person mode and in VR support. And so I do think that those games will make their way over eventually. But Resident Evil 7 was already a VR game. It just got a PlayStation 5, graphical update. And for the exact same reasons as the Persistence, that you can only use the DualShock, I think using the Sense controllers on Resident Evil 7 will change everything.
I certainly hope to see it day one with the right kind of support, but I just I don't think it's a day one thing. I don't think it's a launch title thing. I think it'll come later.
It very well could. I have no idea. I think my dream scenario would be Capcom just wants to sell you all of these things, right? And they're like Resident Evil 2 and 3 and Village and 7 and boom, here you go. And it's like a $150 bundle or something. It's like, and I'll have PSVR2 support. And if you have these games already, then you get a free upgrade. It's like it could be the best deal ever. And by the best deal, I don't even mean the best consumer deal. I mean, just convincing people to buy a PlayStation VR2 headset. Be like, oh, you already own the Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes? You bought them for $20 2 years ago? Like, put them in. Those are PSVR2 games now, first person. Like, they could really, it would obviously have to be a Sony deal, right? Where Sony gave a bunch of money to Capcom to make this happen, which is obviously exactly what happened with Village and Resident Evil 7 to begin with. So, but they could be like throwing a lot of money at Capcom right now to make all of these games PSVR2 compatible and get in and tell people, hey, you've got all of these games already. Just pop them in, download the update, and throw on your brand new PSVR2, and you'll be happy.
The only reason I don't say Resident Evil 7 right off the bat is because they already did a showcase where they showed Resident Evil Village with VR support, VR2 support, and then they even teased Resident Evil 4. And so I'm like, if they had that ready to go, I feel like, they would have included that with, they kind of showed us with their cards a little bit. I feel like that's why I don't think it's there at launch.
So I don't know if you remember this, but right after that showcase, a lot of people were like, oh, so only horror games on PSVR 2? because they did show Resident Evil 4 and Village and then The Walking Dead, and the only thing we saw that wasn't horror was what? No Man's Sky. Oh, and Horizon. And so it did seem like it was horror heavy, and so I could see why they wouldn't want to do that. And the fact is like
overload it, yeah.
Right. So far, like Sony, I feel like Sony hasn't shown their cards at all. If they've got a bunch of AAA games lined up for PSVR2, then they haven't shown really most of their cards. So I do think that some of this stuff is possible. It's just you have to kind of deliver it at the right time. If suddenly PlayStation VR2 becomes like this Resident Evil port machine, you could definitely scare off a bunch of people who don't like horror games. You'd be like, it's just a bunch of horror games. That's all they care about.
I mean, we're counting these, right? We're counting these towards our picks for our 20-plus games.
I'm not. I'm not because...
You're not counting these.
Because when Jim Ryan says 20-plus PlayStation VR 2 launch games, major PSVR 2 launch games, I don't consider a PSVR 2 port or remaster of a PSVR 1 game something major, right? I feel like it's very disingenuous if he was including those when he said something like that.
Okay, well, we have a bit of a problem then, because I do consider a big major game from a major studio. I consider that in any way, shape, or form a major game at launch. Yeah. He didn't say new games. He said major games.
No, true. I just don't consider ports of old games or remasters of old games major. But again, we all have our own definitions, and he definitely has his own too.
Yeah. Well, I'm writing these down as if I'm counting them.
Sure.
So I had Persistence. You had Resident Evil 7.
Yep.
We're sticking with the remasters now. I'm gonna go with another major game. I don't know why I said, and that is Hitman 3 remastered. I think that's gonna be a huge get. I think they've, hopefully, especially after playing like the Ambrose Island update lately, and having tons of fun with that, and it just making me remember how great that game was. And of course, the biggest flaw with it is that it was limited to the DualShock, which, to me, I didn't mind, but I do think VR is about, being as immersive as possible, and having the two hands represented in game is more immersive. Another game it's pretty interactive for what it is, even as is. I mean, there's objects you can pick up and grab and stuff. They did pull off a lot of good stuff in there, but I'd like to see it be better. And yeah, stunning environments, orb controllers. It's been a highly successful game. I think they want a reason to keep the sales coming in, and PSVR 2 is the next best reason.
Yeah, I remember when we played this, I was like, "There's no way." There's no way this game is going to look as good as the trailers make it look. This is going to be blurry as fuck. Like, that's the only thing we assumed. And when we popped the headset on, we were like, holy shit. Hitman 3 looks stunning on the PSVR 1 headset. Just unbelievable. So IO Interactive, obviously a very, very talented team when it comes to PlayStation VR. And who knows how much help they got from Sony. Definitely like a later in the life cycle title. So there are certain games that just get the benefit of experience, right? Like learning from the mistakes that other people made. And I definitely think Hitman's one of those stories. And yeah, it was a shame that it kind of got dragged down by this DualShock 4 support, when it would have been absolutely perfect with the moves. And they have to know this. They've even had trouble on PC VR, and so really,
I think they got a lot of valuable feedback from the PC VR version. So hopefully they learn from that and make the changes needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, my next one, it has nothing to do with controllers or anything else, because I do think a lot of PSVR 1 remasters are going to benefit from the Sense controllers more than even like the visual overhaul. But my big one that I really need on PSVR 2 is going to be Wanderer, right? And it has,
ooh, that's such a good one.
And it has nothing to do, again, with the controllers or anything else. It has everything to do with a game that deserves all of the attention that it can possibly get. And they literally just didn't get the attention they deserved because they launched on a platform that nobody was playing on, right?
Two platforms that nobody was playing on.
True.
Apparently.
So, I really hope these guys get a second chance. This was obviously a labor of love, and M Theory and Oddboy put in there's just so much detail in these worlds. The storytelling is really, really well done. Just all sorts of cool interactive moments. And this game just needs to find an audience. I don't. Did anybody in the chat play Wanderer? Maybe I should just put up a poll because I'm really, really curious to find out you guys are the most hardcore of the hardcore PSVR audience, right? You're here hanging out on a PSVR Gamescast, pretty much in the wake of PSVR 1. And so let me just put up a poll because I'm really curious to find out who played it.
That is such a good pick, and I hope that comes true as well because I couldn't agree more, man. Criminally overlooked. Wanderer is just fantastic, and to me, it's straight up like a top 5 PSVR game.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of the best VR games I've ever played, so it is up there, man. It's not just a great PSVR game. I think it's one of the best.
Votes are already flooding in. It's like 2/3 of the people here have not played it.
Can I vote? Should I vote yes? I'll vote yes.
I mean, you can vote.
It's going to skew it a little bit, but I'm here. I've played it. Why not?
Yeah, true. Also, and they're starting to average out. It's becoming closer to 50-50, but we'll see how it progresses here once we get a few more votes in. So just plenty of games that didn't get the audience they deserved, and Wanderer is probably the prime example of that.
All right, the pick number 5. We can go over 20 because they said there's 20 plus launch games, so we'll end up going over 20. We're still on the remasters right now. I'm gonna go with Moss Book 2, Moss 1 and 2. And the reason I think this is because they've done interviews with people and they've talked about how the orbs enable you to be able to do stuff like feel Quill's fur when you pet her. And I'm like, oh, you can using the haptics and stuff. So to me, that was a blatant hint. And doing interviews about PSVR 2 makes it so obvious that they're gonna remaster Moss Book 1 and 2. I'm just gonna put those as one game, the Moss Collection, and that's gonna be one of the remasters we get.
Yeah. Oh, and dude, 100% agree. And I'm glad you put them together as a collection because I think the biggest thing that PolyArc screwed up wasn't the game or the platforms they launched on. I think what they screwed up was the price point. And I think they've been screwing that up since day one. I think Moss Book 1 was overpriced. We love the game. There's no question about it. It's a fucking phenomenal game. But if you play that thing on a flat screen, it's a $20 game all day, every day, right? So you get the VR tax making it $30, which is okay, kind of expensive. We get it. But then to take the sequel a step
double
further,
down on that.
right? And go, okay, now it's a $40 game. Are you kidding me? They didn't advance the formula, in my humble opinion, they didn't advance the formula enough with Moss Book 2 or do anything radically different to say, okay, this is worthy of not only the $10 surcharge we charge you for the first game, but an additional $10. To me, it's like Moss Book 1 and Moss Book 2 should have been in a bundle together for $45, right? And instead they tried to sell the sequel for $40 on its own, which to me is I don't want to say highway robbery because they are great games, but it feels like they're really gouging VR gamers.
Yeah, it's too much for it. No matter how much I love Moss and stuff, the first one was slightly overpriced. The second one was a lot overpriced. And regardless of, they're great quality games, but they are a little bit on the shorter side and, don't have the deepest replay value. But it's amazing from start to finish. So, I didn't complain about it, but I completely understand why people, are hesitant to pay such a high premium price for it.
Yeah. I think that was their biggest mistake. And so if they can rectify that on PSVR 2, they say, okay, the game's been out for, 8 months now, whatever. It's time to bundle these things up, sell them separately for whatever, for whatever you want, but then give people a deal for buying both at the same time. So, Yeah, I think they can rectify a major problem, and then introduce Moss. And that's another thing. We're introducing these games to a whole new audience. I think that's why these PSVR1 remasters are so important, because for as popular as PSVR1 was, it only sold about 6 million, and a lot of those people, have not been buying games for the last couple of years. And so really this gives all these developers an opportunity to say, hey, this game that we only sold 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 copies of over on PSVR1 or even on Quest or whatever it was, here's our chance to take something that we already made, spruce it up a little bit, and then introduce it to a whole new group of VR gamers who either are just jumping into VR for the first time or upgrading from Quest and now seeing what like AAA games are really looking like. And this is going to be a whole new audience. So developers,
it is.
If developers out there aren't taking their old games and remastering them for PSVR 2, I feel like they're missing the boat big time, right? It's important. I don't know if Saints and Sinners 1 is on your list, but like, even though Saints and Sinners 1 looks great on PSVR 1, I feel like it would be such a disservice to gamers and just an absolute crazy move if Skydance wasn't making a PSVR 2 version of Saints and Sinners Chapter 1, right? How many people are going to buy Chapter 2 if they don't have access to Chapter 1? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Some people, I'm a completionist like that. I don't want to play Chapter 2 before I've played Chapter 1. So I'm sure there's people out there that are like me. So you're just leaving money on the table.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. Looper the Underground Game Cap, the €2 in regards to Wanderer, said, I played it and made 2 of my friends play it. It's good. Good. You're doing God's work. That's what you're doing. Yep.
Very good.
All right.
So what is pick number 6, Mr.
All right,
Paul?
Listen, I know we got to move off these PSVR1 remasters.
Yeah, you want to do some like honorable mentions, maybe?
I mean,
what we think.
Well, I'm just gonna throw one last PSVR1 remaster out there, and then we can move on from this, or you can throw another one out there, whatever you want to do.
It's no biggie.
But we're nearing the end of the show and we haven't started the list, which is interesting. But this is how things have been rolling on Gamescast recently. So my bad. I'm going to say Zenith because Zenith is it's really our first MMO on PSVR. Other headsets have gotten examples of MMOs here and there, but this is our first one for PSVR, and I think they absolutely blew it out of the water. I think they did an amazing job on this game, and people who weren't playing it on PlayStation 5 didn't get the full experience. It didn't look as good. People who played it on the Quest, they didn't look as good. You really want some power behind this. You really want the resolution. You want these awesome controllers to just make all these. It's a VRAF game. And to have some VRAF controllers to go along with it, I think is going to go a long way. And most importantly, I think it's a game that it requires a longer shelf life than most games, right? MMOs take time to grow over the years. And so, because World of Warcraft 10 years later was a wildly different game than it was on day one, right? And so I think it's important that the team over at Ramen VR has a chance to really expand the world of Zenith, and move it ahead into the future, and hopefully allow it to be crossplay with all the other platforms while we're at it.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's an MMO and they've received like a bajillion dollars in funding is a pretty safe bet. Yeah,
I think so too. All right, man, you want to throw one more remaster at me, and then we can move on to some actual PSVR 2 games?
Yeah, sure. I'll just list these off real quick. Just okay. Iron Man VR is a possibility. Mm-hmm. Squadrons is a possibility. And Blood and Truth is a possible remaster. There's a whole lot longer list, but I'll just give an honorable mention to those as being a possibility.
Hell yeah. Jamie out with the $2 tip says, Wander is one of the greatest games I've played.
Agreed.
He didn't say VR games. He said, one of the greatest games I've played. I think it's a very interesting statement.
It's a pretty amazing game.
Yeah. Here, I just want to check in on this poll. 109 people have voted on the Wanderer poll. 47% of you guys have said yes that you played Wanderer. Now, don't forget, you guys are the hardcore PSVR gamers.
Right.
If
most people don't know what Wanderer is.
Yeah. If we expand this to the PSVR community as a whole, I think this number shrinks down to like 15, 20% at best. And so, again, we don't want developers leaving money on the table if they have an opportunity to introduce their game to a new audience. I think that's going to be very cool for them.
All right, let's get on to the juicy PSVR2 goodness, Brian.
All right, man.
These are predictions for PSVR2 launch titles.
So I think it's interesting to note that the only game, I'm pretty sure. Now I could be wrong. We've seen a lot of developers talk about a lot of different games, and a lot of people are talking about PSVR 2, but I can't think of more than one title that is confirmed to be a PSVR 2 launch title, like specifically a launch title, and that is Among Us. Right when Among Us got kind of canned for PSVR 1, Shell Games said, "Hey, we're bringing this to PSVR 2. It'll be there at launch." And we're like, "All right, that's a good enough consolation prize, I guess." But because as far as everything else is concerned, people are talking about making their game for PSVR 2. But is anybody saying launch title, or are these the only guys saying it?
Oh, there's definitely some people saying launch title, but I think they. I don't know if did they specifically say launch title, or did they say when it comes out?
Launch title.
Okay.
You can go to the Shell Games website and it should say it right there. I
mean, it's it's not surprising considering it'll still be there. Actually, funnily enough, my first pick is also a remaster, and it is one of my most anticipated games because it is like my favorite VR game of all time. So I'm gonna have to say No Man's Sky here is going to be a launch title, and I know that's a safe bet. I'll get into the crazier stuff. Yeah. I'll build up to it. Don't you worry. Yeah. I think that's a safe bet, though.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, we're definitely knocking out the safe bets first, just because there's very little conversation I think to have about these. It's like why do we think they're going to be launch titles? Because they just fucking make sense. Shell Games told us that Among Us is going to be a PSVR 2 launch title. No Man's Sky has been killing it with the updates, and so they've got this ability to keep updating their game with these major updates, and just they're knocking them out month after month after month, and it's kind of insane. And so for them to be ready for PSVR 2 launch at this point doesn't seem at all like speculation. It just seems like, these guys just are really good about updating their game, and I'm guessing we'll have something close to the PC VR build or the PC build when this launches.
Brax Bro says AJ will get a personal sized pizza at best with that bet. I know. Hey, I put lots of thought into this. Actually, I've got a whole list of stuff here, and I did actually put a lot of thought into it. I wanted to have a little fun and also take it a little serious too, with actual things that I think are possible.
Yeah, we're knocking out the easy stuff first.
Do you think every single game shown at the showcase? This includes, I don't know if hopefully I'm not messing up the rhythm at all here, but am I? I mean, second, just wait.
Yeah, I mean,
you can go by one if you want, but I was going to say everything from the State of Play showcase.
Yep. Except for potentially Resident Evil 4 again, because there's just something weird happening there, and we haven't figured out what's going on yet. No one has told us what's going on yet. We need to find out what the hell's happening with Resident Evil 4.
I'm adding these to the official launch prediction list. Mm-hmm. We've got No Man's Sky, Among Us VR, Resident Evil Village has now been added. Yep. Horizon Call of the Mountain is now we are calling a launch prediction game, and then The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. So actually not every single game from State of Play, because like you said, technically Resident Evil 4 VR support was announced there. So all but one. So 4 out of the 5. So yeah, that brings us to No Man's Sky, Among Us, Resident Evil Village, Horizon Call of the Mountain, and The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, Retribution. God, that name.
Yeah, I know, right? You gotta take a full breath before you do it.
Look at us making progress. That's 5 games we're already in now.
It's craziness. Yeah, dude, and I really do think it's important that something like Call of the Mountain is there from day one, right? Because as fun as Among Us is going to be, great. As fun as all these, PSVR1 remasters are going to be, great. But like something that really looks and feels truly next gen, that was designed specifically for PlayStation VR2, that is really, I guarantee you, as big and fleshed out as this game is going to be, that they are making it as tech demo-y as possible. And for the first time ever, I think I'm using tech demo in a positive sense, being like, they want to make sure that every time you grab a rope, you feel the sponginess of it, like the texture in the controller. That every time every time you shoot an arrow, every time you do anything in that game, it's going to take advantage of some kind of PSVR2 feature, right? That's pushing the PS5 graphically. A lot of these games are just ports from other consoles or ports from other headsets. It's so important for this to be there, to sort of set the gold standard from day one, to tell developers, this is what shit's capable of. Now go to it. So even though they haven't said launch day, I really, really think it's important for them to, this is going to be their
it's almost like Astro's Playroom, but like on steroids. It's more, to me, it's kind of not making the same mistake they did with VR Worlds, PlayStation VR Worlds. It's like something to like showcase, something to show off the tech, like you said.
It's
day
their
one,
Breath of the
more
Wild
of a game.
It's their Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, maybe not that big of a game, but yeah, a good showcase for sure, and functions as a solid game as well.
Right. We got Sir Moses with the 5 rupees in the chat. It says Farpoint 2 will be a launch title.
Oh, I love it, Sir Moses.
Right. I like that he's pushing us into the further reaching part of this, right? Like this, like we've got zero indication that Impulse Gear is even making Farpoint 2. We've got zero indication that they're even making a PSVR 2 game, right? Nothing. And then Sir Moses is going to take the leap and says they're making Farpoint 2 and it'll be a launch title. I love it too. That's a way more exciting topic than anything we've talked about so far. Yeah. Okay, let's get Sir Moses up here. We'll throw a third window up here right in the middle. Sir Moses, come on, man. Join us on the show.
All right, so... Yeah, sorry, I knocked out a bunch of those with the
Village, Call of the Mountain, No Man's Sky, Among Us VR, Saints and Sinners Chapter 2.
What's number 6, Brian?
This is okay. I want to stick with the super obvious stuff, right? And just because like we're almost there, and I want to get into the Sir Moses level of craziness soon. But I think the last really obvious one I have on my list is Astrobot, the PSVR 2 Playroom. So, and this could very well be a pack-in game, where this whole time I've been saying, oh, we're not getting any kind of pack-in game. Like Sony's going to sell us whatever they can to make up their losses. This is an exception, I think, because I don't consider the Playroom games to be full-fledged games, even though the one we got on PlayStation 5 felt pretty substantial. I think an Astrobot game that introduces us to the PSVR 2 headset. It's not Rescue Mission 2. It's a new Playroom. It's something that really shows off the features of the headset and the controllers. I think that'll be there at launch.
Interesting. I would love for that to be the case because, like we said earlier, there's so many horror games and intense games. Like I need some chill stuff too, some fun, non-intense, just good old-fashioned joy to play games. And I would love to see that. That's a nice bold guess. I don't think that's as obvious as you say it is, but I mean, the thing is, it's like it should be obvious, but I don't take anything for granted anymore at all.
Yeah. Agreed.
But yeah. So that's number 6. At number 7, I'm gonna go ahead and say Gran Turismo 7. We know that what's his name? Kazunori Yamauchi has said many times before that he believes in VR, that he thinks that the biggest leap that Gran Turismo series is going to take using the PS5 hardware is because of VR. It being a launch title is where it's, I think, most at risk here. I 100% believe that it's happening. Whether or not it makes the launch is another story, because Gran Turismo, if you're a fan of the series, then historically it gets delayed quite a bit. But the game's been out a year, or no, I'm sorry, the game came out earlier this year, and it has been top of the sales charts constantly, and it's been really successful. And I honestly think, this is a game that would be an amazing launch title, amazing headset seller, and something that pretty much anybody could play.
Agreed. I've trouble with the very last thing you said, but I was with you up until then, because it's a game that anyone can play. To me, is sort of the antithesis of Gran Turismo, right? You say something. You say Ridge Racer. You get a Ridge Racer game or a Burnout game or something like that. Yeah, suddenly I'm with you. Arcade racing games, but a racing sim like this, I think is for a very specific type of gamer, somebody
That's
who really
fair.
wants to dig their teeth into something that's deep, and you go through the license tests and all of this stuff, and you really want to just really unlock every little bit of the game. It's going to take hundreds of hours, and which I think is going to be awesome for PSVR2 gamers. But I also believe 100% with you that this game will be ready for launch. This has been one of those games where it's like it makes absolute perfect sense. The fact that we got kind of part of Gran Turismo Sport on PSVR 1, it's like I feel like they've got a little bit to make up for, or where I'm sure that even the team over at Polyphony wasn't thrilled that they couldn't deliver the whole game, and now suddenly, here
Definitely
we are.
a hardware limitations thing, and they continued to support it for years. They added, at launch especially, the VR support for Gran Turismo Sport was lacking, to say the least. But they actually eventually added in all 20 tracks to the thing, and they added a bunch of cars to it. So while the modes were limited, they continued to add lots of support in content, I should say, to those limited modes. And yeah, I still got a good 15 hours, but out of it, maybe even more, maybe low 20s out of it. But with this, if it's the full game ready to go, or at least the majority of the game, then I expect to spend at least 50 to 100 hours into it at least.
Yeah. This to me, and especially if they announce some arcade racing games to go along with it, but this to me is enough for me to get rid of my couch. Because I've got very limited space here in my apartment. Everything's kind of crammed to begin with, and I want a racing wheel set up. I want the whole cage where I can sit in there and have everything all set up and ready to go. Because I'm gonna spend way too much time playing this game. Wagreaver with the £2 says Dreams and Gran Turismo at launch. We covered Gran Turismo. I think Dreams is a no-brainer. If Media Molecule wants there to be a 10-year, if they want to have their game last as long as, man, they need so much more than PSVR2 support. They need
multiplayer too.
They need multiplayer. They need to make the.
Is that your pick though? Is that number 8? Are we putting Dreams?
I mean, no? we can add it to the list if you want. But again, I've got so many games that are not PSVR 1. But this is Wagreaver's tip. I'm just responding to.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, to be fair, they have expressed interest in adding PSVR 2 support. And that 10-year plan, keep in mind, that was from Shuhei Yoshida's mouth when he was still the president of Sony Worldwide Entertainment Studios. So things have changed since then. So it's, while that was true at the time, I don't really think that's true still. However, they could absolutely still support the game and add some exciting new stuff to it.
Yeah, they need to make it free to play. They obviously needs a ton of other updates, but they need to make it free to play because they just need to get as many creators in there as possible, and then they can monetize it some other way, right? If they start, Dreams would be this amazing ecosystem if they put a separate listing on the PlayStation Store saying, creations made by dreamers, right? And they sell them for a couple of bucks a pop, right? And actually give some of these dreamers who have been making these creations for such a long time and have proven themselves to be these high tier people who have been spending hundreds and hundreds of hours, right, making $0. If they can somehow incentivize people to get in, get the game for free, and then start making content and then eventually make some money off of it. I think we could see Dreams get a second lease on life. All right, Sir Moses with 5 rubles. Rupees? Rupees. I'm going with rupees. Okay, more realistic one. Firewall 0 Hour 2. The developers are already hyping a reveal for August 28th. This is on my list. Sir Moses is pushing us further down the list, and I'm with you, because it does seem like they've got a reveal for August 28th. It does seem like that they're going to celebrate the 4-year anniversary of Firewall with an announcement of some kind, and them announcing what their PSVR2 game is going to be makes perfect sense to me. It's a little weird to me that it's on August 28th, right? Especially if there's a Sony showcase happening early in September. So maybe we get a teaser on August 28th, and then we see the full reveal during the September showcase. What do you think about that one?
That is an awesome pick, and I would love to see that happen, man. I love Firewall, and I think it's an amazing game. And I hope they can kind of recapture that magic once again. And yeah, give us another game give me another tactical team-based shooter that's like a modern military kind of setting where I can spend upward of 400, 500 hours into it. Yes, I would absolutely love for that to happen. And Brian, I'm going to call that. So I'm adding all of our picks here together.
Sure. And
we're at 15.
Sweet.
Right now.
Good. We're going to have at least 30 by the time we're done. Everybody settle in. This show's just getting started.
So, all right. Firewall 0 Hour 2. I would freaking love it, Brian, to answer your question. Number 16. I'm going to finally do a crazy pick. I don't think it's that crazy, but I'm going to go ahead and do one that's kind of like maybe a little bit more exciting. And, that's going to be Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to have full VR support, or at least, VR, mostly VR mode for it support. And yeah, number 16, it just makes sense. Sony's in a partnership with them. Sony likes money. If there was one more way you could try and sell Grand Theft Auto 5, it would be with PSVR2 support. It just makes too much sense, Brian.
Yeah. Yeah, this to me is like, if you're making a headset, right? PSVR 1, it was what it was, right? Didn't get a ton of AAA support, didn't get a ton of third-party support outside of these smaller indie studios. If you're Sony and you want to make sure that you're kicking off things right with PlayStation VR 2 and that you are changing the narrative of VR as a whole, then you need to make sure that at launch or soon after that you have some fucking killer titles. And these are not games that people have never heard of before, right? These are in franchises that people know and love and have been number one on the sales charts for the last 3 generations of consoles. And no other game says that better than Grand Theft Auto 5. That is the number one game. It's been the number one selling game so long. Say whatever you want about it. But if you're Sony, you are making deals with Rockstar right now to make sure that there is a fucking Rockstar game in first-person VR at the launch of your headset. If it doesn't happen, Sony screwed up.
This is very true. What do you got for number 17?
Oh, man. Moving shit along.
I know.
I'm sorry.
But, we could spend here, at this
17-hour show, AJ. We're gonna go straight up until Wednesday's show. Yeah.
Oh man, for real. Doesn't need to be that long.
It doesn't. I'm gonna go. If we're going crazy, we're going crazy, and this is another one that people have been speculating on for a long time, and it only makes sense that we see Half-Life Alyx.
That was my next pick too.
Nice. Half-Life Alyx at the launch of PSVR 2, and that's because it is one of, if not the biggest VR game out there right now, right? It came out a couple years ago, and seemingly nothing has really topped it. It's been one of these games that is just sort of, when you talk about VR, in the best of the best when it comes to VR, this is a game that you talk about. And so, again, Sony would be crazy not to be talking with Valve and saying, hey, what can we do? We will put some of our first party flat screen games on Steam. We'll do some trades here. You give us this, we'll give you that, and I could totally see this happening. I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think? Is this likely, or am I just is it wishful thinking?
I think it's highly likely. I think even though a lot of people played it on PC 2 years ago, the amount of people that have yet to play it is far greater. Because as we know, the PCVR user base is a little bit smaller. I mean, it's smaller than the Quest and the PSVR. So there's not, in the grand scheme of things, there's not a lot of people that have still played it. I mean, there's not a lot of people that have played it still. So yeah, it absolutely makes sense for them to make it happen and be a launch game. And absolutely, yes,
Nice.
Very confident in that happening.
Excellent. I am as well. I just realized that we haven't switched to this view at all during the show. And this way we can watch big trailers together. Isn't that nice? We can watch big trailers together? I think so.
All right, I got another crazy pick.
Give it to me.
Absolutely crazy pick, but I'm going for it, Brian. Because it is Returnal VR.
This is a good one. I like this.
Now I'm starting to have a little fun here. Yeah, easily my favorite game, favorite PS5 game by far so far that I played has been Returnal, and I don't even think it's that close to anything else. Well, actually, Elden Ring was pretty good too. But yeah, my favorite non-VR PS5 game that I've played, and it's amazing. White Moon Dreams worked on it a little bit, and they obviously have a lengthy history with VR, and I think they went back to work on Returnal and are working on a VR mode for it.
Yep, agreed. This to me makes perfect sense, and I know a lot of people have said this just isn't going to work in VR because
it certainly can.
Right, and so there's a couple different ways you can go about this. You could just make it playable in third person in VR, right? And so you can basically play the entire game the way that it was designed. I want more than that, man. The DualSense controller feels so good. Just jamming on that fire button and feeling the adaptive triggers work the way they do in this game, and also the vibrations of the characters, the creatures, right? You can almost know where enemies are in the environment based on the feelings in your hand. It's kind of amazing what they've done. And so I think if they made this in first-person VR, they could still absolutely do it. People say, "Oh, it's too fast of a game. It's too frantic. It's too much of a bullet hell." I think you could absolutely do it. And I think this is the game that could prove it and actually make other developers go, "Oh shit! If Returnal can be done on PlayStation VR 2, then our game, maybe we can consider our game for PlayStation VR 2." This would be a massive step forward, I think, for VR games as a whole.
You can absolutely do it. I mean, look at the stuff Sirento did. I mean, like you can make it work. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if you have to change things up a little bit, like slightly, I think it's like absolutely possible.
Yeah. And now that they've added a 2-player mode, I mean, dude.
Yes.
Now that there's I haven't even played the co-op mode, and I'm like, I don't even want to. I just want to play VR co-op. Like that would be so cool.
I know.
Right?
This is the one game though I was like, even though it doesn't have VR, it's like I still love it and want to play it, and it's just so good.
My confession is that I put tens of hours into this game and only made it to the second boss and never beat the second boss. Like I just suck at this game, but I am fucking down to give it another chance. And sucking at it never once made me go, I don't want to play this anymore. I suck. I'm still Muffin the Gamecat's dad. Hold on, did I say that right? Muffin the Gamecat's dad. It's an interesting name. There's a Gamecat. 5 quid says, thanks to all the fantastic streams. Thanks, AJ, for last Monday's sea shanty. And thanks, son, for being the best.
Aw.
That's awesome. We got some father-son stuff going on here.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Thank you, Muffin's dad.
That's who you sang the sea shanty to last week, huh? Nice.
Yes. My horrible attempt at improving a sea shanty. Two things I'm not good at.
I ended the show with a My Chemical Romance song. I don't think you.
At least you had something to sing. All right, what's number 19, Brian?
I don't know if I should go kind of safe or kind of crazy.
Well, my next one is my pretty much last one because I've exhausted everything. Like I said, I included remasters and stuff in my list of major titles. So
man, okay,
but I will say my final one for number 20 after you do 19 is a wild just guess out of the blue.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go with
Sort of.
something. I'm gonna go with something safe here because I do really feel like it's coming, and there's no reason why it wouldn't come. And it was one of my favorite games on PSVR 1, but now it's got a sequel. That's Red Matter 2.
Oh,
Right, Vertical Robot
Okay.
making Red Matter 2. They've only announced it for I think PC and Quest. It looks absolutely stunning, and if it's even as good as the first game, never mind better, then I'm going to be really really happy with this. To me, I believe this game is coming out later this month on other headsets, and so there's no reason. I mean, I know they're kind of a small team over there, but I don't believe that there's any reason that they shouldn't be able to have this ready for launch. And it's just Red Matter was such a cool experience. Just one of those games that just really sticks with you, I think. And so I hope they can. I hope Lightning can strike twice for these guys.
and at number 20. I'm going to go with something that we had a small little leaked rumor, a rumor about this one. But I'm going to have to go with Wipeout. This is a brand new Wipeout title because in the history of PlayStation, Wipeout has always been some kind of weird launch title. Well, kind of. And we haven't heard from X-Real, I don't think, in a while. Maybe I could be wrong. I need to look that up. Don't fact check me on that. But I think this rumored Wipeout game that we heard about, not the mobile game, but the VR supported one, I'm going to end things here with a brand new Wipeout game, a sequel to Omega Collection that has been, was all one of the, when you were like, one of my favorite PSVR games, I was like, don't say Wipeout, because Wipeout was just an amazing PSVR 1 game.
Yeah, I mean they really took these games that were that were basically designed for PS3 and gave them this great facelift, made them work perfectly on PSVR 1. Great sense of speed, great sense of gravity, right? And just like really did feel like you were floating above the track. Really good stuff. And so for them the rumor was that they were designing a new Wipeout game from the ground up for VR, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Or it was a hybrid.
Or a hybrid, right? And I really feel like VR is the only natural place for games like Wipeout these days. I just the futuristic racing genre was pretty cool on, I guess, like the PlayStation 1 era, and I think it just really wore out its welcome over the years. I'm sure there were interesting moments, interesting highlights, but I think in VR, it gets a brand new opportunity to wow us all over again. Be like, oh, there's twists and turns in the tracks and flipping zero gravity and loops and the insane weapons. All very cool stuff that I don't think it wows us on the flat screen like it used to. And I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but that's the way I feel about it. I don't want to play Wipeout on a flat screen. I don't want to play Wipeout on my Vita anymore. I want to play Wipeout in VR. I want to feel like it's a futuristic racing game. I want to play it in a futuristic way and really feel the intensity with the vibrations in the headset and everything else in the sense controllers. Absolutely. Well, dude, I mean, if you want to talk about rumors, I got a rumor for you, and you're coming right to the source for this one. I think Killzone VR.
Bringing back the Killzone rumor again, huh?
I'm bringing back the Killzone rumor, and the Killzone rumor, for anybody who doesn't know, was that once upon a time Sony had basically asked Supermassive Games, developers of the Inpatient and Bravo Team, but luckily
Rush
also
of Blood.
Rush of Blood. They
took you too long to get there, but yes.
Yeah, that was the joke that you ruined. They saw the progress. It had been in development for a couple of years at Supermassive. Sony saw the progress in 2019 and said, we're not happy with this. We're going to pull this back internally. And at 2019, right, the PSVR 1's been out for 3 years already. And if they're starting development over from scratch in 2019, Sony's a forward-facing company. They are looking toward the future. You don't start making a PSVR 1 game in 2019. Not if you're Sony. You go, maybe we should be developing a PSVR 2 title, potentially a PSVR 2 launch title. And Killzone, I just think, is one of those games that absolutely could benefit from VR. I think it's another game that never quite got where it needed to go on the flat screen. It was super graphically impressive, and there were a lot of cool things going on. My favorite one is Mercenary, man, on Vita, right? And I think that was the only one that ever really grab me the way that these Killzone games are supposed to. And so with Shadowfall, they introduced a lot of different gameplay mechanics. And so if you kind of take all of that, you take some of the cool modes from Mercenary, you take the new gameplay mechanics from whatever Shadowfall. I'm sorry, I just said it. And then you combine all this stuff together, and you can make an awesome PSVR2 game. I don't think Guerrilla has been exclusively working on on Horizon, on Call of the Mountain, on Forbidden West. I don't think that's what they've been doing 100% of the time. There's got to be a part of their team that's been working on this. Maybe.
That would be an amazing surprise. But didn't Supermassive just get bought by somebody else though? I don't know.
Yeah. Supermassive hasn't been working on this game since 2019, so they have nothing to do with this project anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That'd be like one of those crazy, amazing announcements. Like, oh yeah, I'd be excited about that for sure.
Yeah, dude, I've got so many more games on this list. Stop me if you want to talk about any of these. Survios announced that they're working on an Aliens game, VR, right? And so there's no way they're making a PSVR1 game. I think that would be an obvious PSVR2 game. I don't
Definitely.
They didn't even make Onslaught for Quest. So, I think this would be a PC and PSVR2 only VR game. Not to mention the consoles that'll come on. It's going to be a hybrid game.
I've got Startenders listed here as one of the maybe an indie launch game. I think they're going to be a launch title.
You think that's what happened to Startenders? Startenders was like, we got right up to launch date and we decided, you know what, maybe PSVR1 just isn't worth it.
I think for reasons, they've hinted enough that they're targeting the platform. So even if they're not included in the big announcement, they'll be in the sizzle reel at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you think that's what happened to Transformers as well?
I think Transformers might still be happening because it's a rail shooter.
I mean, Startenders is a, it's a bartending game or job sim type game. There's no reason it couldn't come to PlayStation VR1 other than because they found out that it wouldn't sell. Right?
Yep.
And so I think everybody's in the same boat with PSVR1. The only games I'm confident that are actually still coming to PSVR1, really, at this point, are Do Not Open and Saints and Sinners Chapter 2. Those are the only ones I'm confident about.
I've got a couple here, like NFL Pro Era. I think that'll get pushed to PSVR 2.
Yeah.
RagnaRock will get pushed to PSVR 2.
That's a shame.
And that's, I've got Hideo Kojima, but I don't think that's going to be a launch game. But that's pretty much my list, man. I've exhausted all my stuff here. I don't think I didn't mention a single one.
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, as far as things that would generate some buzz, I think that I think it's important to have something like Boneworks at launch.
Yeah.
It's one of those games that, again, just like Half-Life Alyx, always comes up in the conversation when you talk about VR
Bone
games,
Lab
especially.
or whatever. It looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean, fuck Bone Lab, right? Boneworks. This is the same thing that I was saying about like making sure that Skydance ports Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 over, right? You got to get people in on the ground floor. You got to get people familiar with your IP, and then sell them the sequel, right? It's like, why? I can't. I'm sure Boneworks sold like fucking crazy, right? Because it was one of those games that kids love to mod things, and it's all about like these fucking weird mods that you can fuck around with, and like experimental physics stuff. That's great, right? But and that's why it has such a great reputation. It's just like all very physicsy, right? Over physicsy, right?
Yeah.
And so whether it remains a good game or not is, depending on who you talk to. Boneworks feels like a tech demo, or it's an awesome game, really depending on what your style of gameplay is. But it doesn't matter because it has such a great reputation that it will sell on PSVR 2 no matter what. And so get that game in the door, and then eventually release Bone Labs.
All right. So you want me to list off the full 20 that we did? Of course, like these are our 20 launch predictions.
In a second. I want to run through my list because I just want to make sure. We said Red Matter. We talked about Resident Evil 4, Gran Turismo 7, Half-Life Alyx, First Contact's game, Boneworks, Ghostbusters VR. I feel like Dreams could technically have their game ready for PSVR2 launch. We'll see how that goes down. We were talking about Killzone. We talked about Aliens, Grand Theft Auto, Wipeout. Twisted Metal VR was another rumor we'd heard. And potentially Firesprite being behind that. Is that who the rumor was for?
Yeah.
Right? And if Sony really wants to bring back some of these IPs, I think that's a great way to do it. Alien Isolation, BioShock VR, these games that we've sort of been begging for VR modes all of this time. Again, if Sony's out there and they're really hitting the pavement and talking to these developers, being like, hey, we want some heavy hitters for PlayStation VR 2. I could see things like BioShock and Alien Isolation coming back from the dead.
These would be awesome. I just don't expect these to be launch titles.
I mean, I don't expect anything we talked about to be launch titles. I expect 6 of the games we talked about to be launch titles.
That's the name of the video, Brian. That's what we're supposed to be talking about, Brian.
Dude, I mean, like, what would keep...
You think I wouldn't want to say Final Fantasy VII VR 2? Like,
would you? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, but things like BioShock and Alien Isolation, I feel like are no-brainers, right? If you're out there and you're hitting the pavement and you're talking to these developers, like, here we just want a VR port, right? These are games that exist on multiple platforms. You could get some Sony guys in there, get White Moon Dreams over there, and help these guys get them to be VRAF, right? Help them with the port, and or whatever has to happen. And so I do think that these games could be there at launch. It's me dreaming, because these are games that I've wanted VR modes for the last 6 years, but at the same time, I just really don't want Sony repeating the mistakes that they've made year after year after year after year, right? We begged Sony for years to bring us PlayStation 3 games, right? We saw Skyrim, and we were like, if Skyrim can be done in PlayStation VR, then all these other great PS3 games can be done in VR. Anything could. It gets this giant open world with tons of systems going on, like really just draining the RAM constantly, right? All of these could be totally done. And so, and I'm going to finish off with 2 horror games, Dead Space, because they're remaking it, right? Fucking bring that shit over, and Phasmaphobia, which is not a major game at a $13 price point on Steam, but it would be major to have.
$13.
Yeah, it's super cheap. It's super indie game, but at the same time, it's like, hey, these are games that people are interested in, that people want, and I think even though it's a small independent game, to me, that there's still something major about it, right? So it's something that attracts people to the headset that makes it major. So.
I would love Catch and Release 2. Yeah, man. All right. So the 20 launch prediction games that we've come together to form are Wipeout, a new Wipeout game, Red Matter 2, Returnal, which was my crazy pick, Half-Life Alyx, Grand Theft Auto 5. Can't read my own handwriting. What does that say? Oh, Firewall 2. Dreams, Gran Turismo 7, an Astro PSVR2 Playroom game, The Walking Dead. No, what is that? Why can't I read my own handwriting? God, that is terrible. The Workin? Yeah, it's The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, Retribution. Horizon Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil Village, No Man's Sky, Among Us VR, Zenith Remastered, Moss Collection Remastered, Wander Remastered, Resident Evil 7 Remastered, and The Persistence Remastered. Pretty good list overall. I definitely kept it a little bit more. Mostly, I think that's a pretty grounded in reality list with a couple, like, a couple wishful thinkings and a little bit of just crazy. Gotta have a little fun with it. Otherwise, it'd just be totally boring. But
Craig, he asked earlier in the chat, said, "If what is the game you will play first if all of your guesses happen to be correct?"
Oh God. I mean, I'm gonna want to play No Man's Sky first, but with all this new stuff, I mean, how can I resist?
Yeah. I hate to be generic, man. But really, people have been telling me, you're probably just gonna like obsess over Village, and that's all you're gonna play when it comes out. And I'm like, yeah, I love my Resident Evil games, but But when it comes down to it, man, it's like what I've seen of Horizon Call of the Mountain just seems so exciting, and just really encapsulates everything I want out of a VR game. And I have so much faith in Sony to deliver a first-party title that truly takes advantage of the headset, takes advantage of the controllers, takes advantage of the, just pushing the PS5, maybe not to its limits, but pushing it further than most developers are probably capable of on day one. And so I just really want to see what what PSVR 2 is capable of. I want that first game I jump into to blow me away and really make me go,
I think Call of the Mountain's going to be the one that everybody plays first, right? That's got to be the one that you start with.
Yeah. I mean, either that or Star Child. Would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, though. Horizon Call of the Mountain, I think, is going to be majority, at least, maybe not majority, but that is going to be like, to me, that just seems like it's the first game shown for PlayStation VR 2. And it just seems like the first one to start with.
Agreed. Which of these do you think is the least likely to happen on your list that you created?
The least likely?
Yeah.
Maybe Returnal.
I think you might be right. Returnal does sound
I mean, I totally picked that as just like, that was my one, like, oh, please let this happen for me.
Yeah.
That was my selfish pick.
Right on. Okay. I'm actually being super late to the game here, and I am picking it is my turn for 20 questions, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Totally forgot that we were playing 20 questions today because welcome to PSVR GamesCast Live. But I've got a game picked out. So if you guys are ready for PSVR 20 questions, then make sure you're ready to help AJ out. We're going to put 6 minutes up on the clock, and you guys have 20 yes or no questions to figure out what PlayStation VR game I'm thinking of. AJ, are you ready?
Almost.
Okay, you let me know.
Or something here. Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, on your mark, get set, go.
Okay. Does it have move support?
Yes.
Does it have DualShock 4 support?
No.
Okay. So it seems like a moves only game. Is it a shooting game?
No.
Do you let's see. Are there falling blocks? No, that's not a question. Let's see. What do you guys have for me here? Is it only on PSVR? I like it, Mark. You.
No.
Okay. Does it have full locomotion?
Yes, that's 5.
Okay, so move controllers, full locomotion, on multiple platforms. Is it a puzzle game? Might as well get that out of the way.
No, you wouldn't call this a puzzle game.
Thank God, I like it already. Does it have big cojones? It's not a puzzle game. It uses the moves. It has full locomotion. Is there melee combat in the game?
No.
Okay. I don't think it'd be third person considering it has full locomotion and is move supported. Doesn't strike me as third person. Usually DualShock 4 as third person. Was the game a sales hit? I don't know if is it based on a known IP? Thank you, Old Darth.
Yes.
It is based on a known IP. Okay. Was it on the top 25 list? Says Mad Max Gaming Channel.
I believe so. It's absolutely a contender for top 25.
You think it's a contender?
I believe it's on the list, and if not, it's certainly a contender. Pretty sure it's on the list.
Okay. So move support, full locomotion, Not a puzzle game. Not is it a horror game?
It is a horror game. That's 10.
It is a horror game. Nice one, Ian Stambridge. That's 10. Okay. Based on a popular IP, horror game, uses the moves, has full locomotion in it. Not a puzzle game. Did it? I don't remember when. I almost want to say Five Nights at Freddy's. Ooh, that's a good one. But does Paranormal Activity not support? Is it based on a movie?
Yes.
It is based on a movie. Ooh, okay. I like where you're going with this, old Darth. Do you play as a police officer in this game?
No. I mean, no. Yes. No. No. Go with no.
Are there chapters in this game?
Yeah.
Is the game separated by chapters?
I do believe it's separated by chapters. Yeah.
He's played the Saints and Sinners like a billion times. He should know these. I mean, I'm sorry, Exorcist. Are there? Let's see. You definitely play as a police officer in Blair Witch. What's another thing? So it's based off a horror movie. It uses move controllers. No dual shock. It could be Don't Knock Twice as well. I can't say is it buggy as shit because both of them are really buggy. Is it based off the Exorcist movie?
No.
Is it? Let's see here. Is this game like horribly unplayable sometimes because of bugs?
No. That's 15.
15, guys. Yeah. Horror movie. Full locomotion. Okay. Well, those both have full locomotion. Oh, we're running. Well, how much time do we have?
A minute.
We got 1 minute, guys, and 5 questions. Is it a full game?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not Stranger Things because that's like an experience. Top 25 contender. Do you have a pet dog in this game?
You do have a pet dog in this game.
Oh, Shades of Grey Matter, and I think I saw somebody else say it too. Ben Dawson, Indie Soul.
Awesome Tatum said it like 20 minutes ago.
Is it Blair Witch VR?
It is Blair Witch VR. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't play as a police officer. You play as a disgraced former police officer who's got some fucking crazy mental issues, no longer on the force. That's why I went back and forth on that one. Right, you learn more about his history as you go, and you find out that, like...
Don't you pull up in, like, a cop car?
No, you don't.
I thought you're a police officer searching for a kid. I don't remember... You could be right that you could be, like, a disgrace, but I think
there are police officers looking for the kid, and you kind of, like, doing your own rogue thing, like, trying to help them out and shit. Now, so somebody in the chat probably knows better than I do, and has a better memory than I do, and isn't AJ. Braxpro says, I know he's a veteran. That's true. He was a veteran.
Okay.
Very curious. But I definitely, my point is never to lead you astray. That's why I kind of went back and forth on that question. Glad you got there eventually. Thanks everybody in the chat who helped him out. He definitely needed the help. He wasn't going to get there on his own.
No, I wasn't.
Oh my God. Dan Kiefer is calling shenanigans. What are you going to do? All right, you guys, we got to move along because it's already a much longer show than usual, although not usual, just much longer than it should be. And I got some work to do tonight. I got to go film some more content for our Patreon supporters. So expect some good stuff coming up soon. Don't forget, you guys, if you don't already subscribe to AJ's channel, click the link in the description below to subscribe to PSVR Underground. Make sure you join our Discord. Click the link in the description below to join our Discord. Feel free to contribute to the channel by donating on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. Why do I feel like I missed a tip? I think I missed a tip. I did. $5 tip from Mad Max Mad Max's gaming channel. Guys said, guys, no Elden Ring VR, no Undead Citadel, or that lo-fi game, or Hellsweeper. Okay, real quick.
Not at launch. No.
Elden Ring, I think, might be a stretch. Undead Citadel, we have no idea when that game's coming out, and it's been in development for 17 years, so it might be a little bit. Lo-fi, I don't think at launch. I think he's one dude doing that. It's going to take some time. And Hellsweeper, I don't call a major game, but we've definitely talked about some games that were less major than Hellsweeper, so you might have us on that one. Guys, thank you to all the moderators that helped this channel run. Thank you to Jamie, who uploads this to podcast services of your choice. Thank you to Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry. Thank you to Tornado, who is... Thank you. You're the best. I love you so much. And thank you, everybody who hung out in the chat, helped AJ with 20 questions, contributed to the conversation tonight, donated, and of course, all of you who sat back and watched the show and didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. AJ, it's Monday. May I cue the cat?
Cue the cat, Brian, because I want to say see you guys on West 8 of the Fenner. PSVR says, my bees. I think you meant boys. My boys. Brax, bro, hold up. 17 years. It was in development before VR was where it is now. He's talking about, is that Undead Citadel? It's been 84 years. I don't know what he's talking about. Atmos VR, Stormland, Capcom, James Moore. Thank you, sir. Mad Max Gaming Channel, Wetness, Bob Zarkoff, The Underground Game Cat, Elite Name Squad in the house, Spoofaman says, bye. Gabriel Double Foot, Lights Me Out, Game Cat says, everyone have a great rest of the night. A good rest of the night. Listen to Gabriel. Guys, son, fist bump to you. Shades of Great Matter, thank you so much, man. Nick the Game Cat, how? J1, bye-bye. Aceville, the 5 Frame Cat. I like you still rocking that. You have a great week as well, Aceville. Markio, the Zenith Addictive Game Cat. It's a Zenith Raid reset in 13 minutes. Let's go! Join the Discord if you want to get in on the Zenith action. Brax Bro says, play more Postal 2. I don't know. Right? Ben Dawson, play more VR. Ben Dawson, you have a great one too. Ball Pal, the cat, he says. Awesome Tatum says, yes, love and family here. Yes, sir. Shooty hooty. It's 12:47 and time to start playing VR.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
sir. Get up and get some. You guys have a great rest of the week. And yeah, we'll see you very soon.
Soon.
Ace Bill says he's just really lazy. He's like, yeah, I'm not still rocking it. I just am too lazy to change it.
I feel you.
Steve Irie, what's up, dude?
I feel you.